Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming. Ominous. In my Ask Me Anything video, Severian Wintermute stated in the comments he believes I was bullied from a comment I made in a video of the past. And whether it was to do with my gaming. He wanted to know whether it was to do with my role-playing, how I got past that bullying, what advice I would give to other victims of bullying, or bullying sufferers, or call them what you will. And that's not an easy question to answer. Yes, I was bullied at school. I'm quite open about that. I was not a confident child. I was not a popular child. And it was nothing to do with gaming. Nothing at all, because I only really got into role-playing in a major way around the age of 18, by which point I stopped caring about being bullied. Which isn't something you are able to do as a child, or if you can do it, that generally implies that you have more serious issues to deal with. So as a child, I was bullied largely as a result of my voice, which maybe to you sounds absolutely normal or maybe slightly affected. I don't know. Some people seem to think it's a fake accent. It's not. This is my voice. But when I was a child, some people seemed to think I had a very deep voice. Some people said I spoke very slowly. Some people thought I spoke nasally. Some people said I spoke with a rural accent. I had all kinds of accusations. Oh yes, and I spoke very posh as well. Different bullies at school seemed to think that my voice was off in some way, and clearly it was off in some way because it resulted in a whole load of people picking on me about it. And it sounds like something so inconsequential to be picked on, but it wasn't something I could get away with or away from because it was my voice. I couldn't just change my voice. And so people would come up to me and say, "Can you say to me, my name is Matthew Dawkins," or something like that. And I didn't speak that slowly, as far as I recall, but it was the kind of thing they would say to get a rise out of me or just to make me upset because they knew they were mocking me. Now, how did I get around that? How did I get past all of that? Well, the fact is I didn't. I had to grow up. And I don't mean that in a negative way, grow up. I mean, I had to actually become an adult before people stopped bullying me, because as a child I wasn't confident, I wasn't popular. I wasn't the kind of boy that was surrounded by friends or popular kids. I couldn't just beat bullies away or defend myself. I was very rarely physically bullied, but I was relentlessly mocked because my stigma was my voice. So whenever I spoke up in class, I knew someone would be mocking me behind my back, and that, got to me. It certainly meant that 5 years of my life when I was at secondary school was pretty hellish for me psychologically and emotionally, if not physically. Certainly I never took it to the lengths where I was doing anything like self-harming or where I would consider I was depressed, but who knows, really. When you're a child, it's difficult to assess how badly you're being fucked up, I do know that I never went out to the playground, never went out to the school field or anything like that on lunch. I'd stay indoors. I'd generally stay in the library because it was the best place to hide from people like that. I knew if I was caught on my own, people would pick on me relentlessly, and that wasn't fun. And to the point where I was such a victim, I guess, even when I was 15 years old, people who were younger than me could pick on me and I wouldn't do anything to stop them. I wouldn't push them away or tell them to fuck off. I never swore when I was at school. I never ever swore. I was always a very good behaved boy, well behaved boy. Maybe that was the problem. I don't know. Because people say to get away from bullying, the first thing parents tell you is ignore them and they'll go away. That advice, sadly, isn't true. It isn't accurate. I ignored them or tried to, and yet they never went away. Some people say you need to meet fire with fire. You need to actually attack one of the bullies. You need to beat them at their own game and be on top. That works for some. It doesn't work for others. I know some boys that tried to do that at my all-boys school, and they resulted, their violence got them expelled or punished in place of the bully because they should have known better. Really, the only solution to things like bullying is to be popular. It is to be surrounded by people that can defend you. But something I think you, if you're an adult, can impress, or maybe something that will help you understand the bully, which I know doesn't sound like advice, but hear me out, is knowing that most people don't become bullies in a vacuum. You don't just become a little shit because you're evil. You do it because of your background, your environment. It's because at home you come from a broken family, or your parents are alcoholics, or your parents may just have a mental illness that means that your lifestyle is dysfunctional when compared to the norm. My lifestyle was normal. I was a perfectly normal boy. Maybe that's how I could deal with it in the end. It felt upsetting at the time, but I grew out of it and I'm absolutely fine now. Whereas a lot of those bullies who grew up being dysfunctional in dysfunctional homes are probably not. So the ultimate victim in all of this is the bully, because they didn't get to live normal childhoods where they learnt, like all the rest of the pupils, where they ended up going to college, for instance, or getting decent jobs. What I found out was that the teachers at my secondary school would have a staff meeting, at the beginning of every day, where they would discuss every single juvenile delinquent, every single bully, essentially, or someone with learning difficulties, and discuss how they were going to handle them today, what they were going to look out for, because they suspected that these children were probably being abused at home or suffering some mistreatment, and that was what was causing this backlash that came out against fellow pupils at school. They couldn't do anything about it, the teachers. All they could do was damage control. They could handle them, but they could not solve the problem, if you see what I mean. And that put in a new light for me what teachers have to deal with. It gave me a new respect for teachers. They have to deal with that. But it made me see bullies in a different light, because they become bullies generally as a result of something wrong. Now, does this help the people being bullied at the time? No, it doesn't. But it does give one cause for reflection and perhaps even forgiveness against the people that bully them, because they did it because they needed to assert themselves, because they didn't know how to behave properly, or they didn't see that behaving properly would get them anything, because they had so much taken away from them at home that at school they had to actually get something. They had to get respect, if nothing else, or fear. And it's an odd thing, because I would love for there to be a magic switch, a magic bullet that, as someone who was bullied, could say, do this and you'll be fine. Yes, become popular and you'll be fine, but that's not easy. Become confident. Well, you need a reason to be confident. You can't just walk into a room confident. You need to grow that and develop that. What I would suggest to anyone being bullied is to focus on your strengths, whether that's reading, whether it's playing an instrument, whether it's running games, playing games, or what have you. One of the best things you can do, in a weird way, I found, is insulate yourself, but not in a room with nobody around. It's with people, because you still need to socialise, and you won't grow emotionally, you won't mature unless you get to interact with other people, and that's so difficult for introverts, and I was so introverted when I was a child. It was difficult for me. I had friends, but no friends that would stick up for me, you know? So there isn't a magic button. I can't give any advice that can get you through it, because you can't stop someone from picking on someone if they are determined to do it. You can't develop a thick skin, because, as I pointed out in another video, sensitivity is actually a weapon that, when you get older, is a fantastic one to have in your arsenal. To be sensitive means being switched on to the world, and being switched on to the world is a good thing. It means you are more responsive. Being thick-skinned means you're more likely to take abuse and not react to it, and therefore empower the abuser. I don't know. It's difficult. It isn't a video. This isn't a video where I can just give you an answer and you can walk away happy. But maybe if you can put yourself in the bully's shoes or the bully's mindset, you can perhaps understand why they're doing it. And maybe that will allow it to roll off of your shoulders a little more, or to understand why they're doing what they're doing. I'm not saying you need to go up to them and give them therapy or give them counselling. You're not qualified to do it, I expect, and they wouldn't react well to it. But when you walk away from that incident where you're being mocked, picked on, beaten up, and you know that they've probably got it a lot worse than you, it's a funny kind of schadenfreude. You're not taking enjoyment out of it, but you can at least take some respite from the fact that all you have to deal with is another child or another youth picking on you. What they have to deal with every single night or every single day is probably a lot worse. Yeah. So, bit of a down video, but a bit of a biography, I guess, autobiography, and a bit of a how-to. I hope that's helped in some way, maybe given you something to consider that you've not thought of before. Thank you very much for watching.